For 47 years, it drifted silently through the abyss, a forgotten probe, swallowed by darkness. But what if I told you it was never alone? Voyager 2 wasn't just another probe. It was humanity's whisper into the void, a lonely message in a cosmic bottle. And for decades, we believed it was fading into irrelevance. Just a relic, quietly coasting through deep space, until it crossed a line it was never meant to cross. Because at the outer edge of our solar system, something strange happened. The data didn't just shift, it snapped. As if Voyager had crossed a barrier, a door. And on the other side, there was something waiting. Not a planet, not a black hole, but a signal. Structured, deliberate, intelligent. And then, silence. Scientists were stunned, not just by the signal, but by what followed. The transmission stopped, completely, because Voyager 2 hadn't just passed into interstellar space. It had triggered something, and in the moment it vanished from the familiar hum of our solar system, the universe blinked back. What you're about to hear isn't science fiction, it's science. Classified, controversial, and terrifying. Stay with this video, because the deeper we go, the more disturbing it gets. And by the end, you'll never look at the night sky the same way again. Voyager 2 was never supposed to make it this far. Launched in 1977 for a 5-year mission, it wasn't built to survive the freezing silence between stars, the invisible radiation, or the drifting debris of space. Yet, somehow, 47 years later, it endured. But in 2023, something changed. Something no one expected. Shortly after it passed through what scientists call the heliopause, the invisible line marking the boundary between our sun's domain and true interstellar space, Voyager 2 began transmitting something strange. Not just a change in plasma density, not just a magnetic shift, but a sudden burst, a low-frequency, repeating transmission. Rhythmic, structured, intentional, not static, not noise, something intelligent. And then, like a door slamming shut, silence. The change was instant, as if Voyager 2 had moved from one room into another, crossing an unseen boundary. The instruments didn't fade gradually, they jolted. Engineers at NASA weren't just confused, they were visibly shaken. This wasn't just telemetry, it was a message, or worse, a warning. Because this signal didn't act like natural background radiation. It had timing, shape, precision, and whatever Voyager 2 had passed through, it didn't want to be seen. For decades, textbooks told us the edge of the solar system, the heliopause, was a slow blur, a thinning gradient where the sun's influence gradually surrendered to the vastness of the galaxy. But Voyager 2 shattered that theory. Instead of a gentle drift into the unknown, it recorded a hard boundary. A sudden, violent spike in particle energy and temperature. One moment, it floated safely within the heliosphere, protected by the sun's magnetic field. The next, it was bombarded by raw cosmic rays, spiking by 70% in seconds. Not a slope, a wall, not an edge, a shield. And then came the alignment. Voyager's magnetometers detected something deeply unnatural. The sun's magnetic field was almost perfectly aligned with the interstellar field beyond. Scientists expected turbulence. They expected chaos. Instead, they found precision. Two opposing fields lining up like clockwork, not by chance, but by some unseen design. The data didn't just raise questions, it ripped open the curtain on a terrifying possibility. What if this boundary wasn't natural at all? But the most haunting clue wasn't in radiation, or particles, or magnetic fields. It was in the communication stream itself. NASA engineers reviewing archived telemetry from Voyager 2 noticed something buried deep in the carrier wave. A modulation. Soft, rhythmic, almost imperceptible, pulsing just outside expected parameters. At first, they brushed it off. Sensor drift, cosmic noise, a glitch. But over time, a pattern emerged, a mathematical precision that no random event could mimic. It wasn't from the sun. It didn't match any known cosmic phenomena. Instead, it mirrored something eerily familiar. The pulse intervals echoed the Arecibo message, the one we sent into space in 1974. Not a copy, not a reply, but a recursive structure, almost as if it was being reflected back to us, like sonar off an invisible wall. And it all began right after Voyager 2 crossed the helipause. A chilling theory took root. What if, the very moment we stepped beyond the solar bubble, Voyager was scanned? Not greeted, not welcomed, scanned, like an intruder triggering a security system. What Voyager 2 revealed wasn't just a wall, it was something alive, the boundary it crossed, The helipause had always been thought of as a blurry, uneven region, a transition zone where the sun's influence faded into the interstellar medium. But Voyager's data destroyed that belief. It didn't drift gradually through a weakening force. It crossed a line, sharp, sudden, and absolute. One moment, protected by the heliosphere. The next, exposed to cosmic radiation levels 70% higher than anything recorded before. And then came something no one expected: alignment. Voyager's magnetometers showed that the solar magnetic field and the interstellar magnetic field weren't clashing. They were perfectly aligned. This wasn't random. This was engineered, intentional. Some scientists started whispering a terrifying new idea. What if this isn't just a border? What if it's a membrane? Something responsive, reactive, intelligent. They now describe the helipause as a kind of living boundary, one that breathes with the solar cycles and pulses with the galaxy's pressure. It shifts depending on where and when it's crossed. Voyager 1 crossed it at 119 AU. Voyager 2 crossed it at just 121 AU and found completely different conditions. That difference? It might not be an accident. It might be a signal that we're being watched. And Voyager 2 just tripped the alarm. It wasn't just the radiation. It wasn't just the magnetic field. The real shock came from the signal. While combing through archived telemetry data, a small group of researchers noticed a strange anomaly buried deep in Voyager 2's background carrier wave. A modulation, subtle, rhythmic, pulsing just outside of expected parameters. At first, it was dismissed as interference, static, sensor noise. But then the pattern repeated. It wasn't solar, it wasn't cosmic, and it wasn't random. In fact, the intervals matched something horrifyingly familiar. Segments of the Arecibo message, humanities' encoded signal sent into space in 1974. Not word for word, not a reply, but structurally similar, recursive, intentional. And it all began right after Voyager 2 crossed the helipause. Too clean, too specific, too timed. What if this wasn't a message at all? What if Voyager 2 was scanned? Some scientists believe it might have triggered a dormant protocol, like a motion sensor in deep space. Something detected our presence, our technology, our intent. A cosmic perimeter had been crossed, and Voyager 2 was now being watched. Think about it. If Voyager 2 had never crossed that line, would this signal have ever been heard at all? That's the question keeping scientists awake at night. This boundary, the helipause, was never supposed to be like this. For years, it was taught as a blur, a slow fade where the sun's solar wind lost its influence and mixed gently with the interstellar medium. But Voyager 2 shattered that belief. Its data revealed something far more disturbing. Not a gradient, but a wall. A sudden, undeniable shift, like stepping through a membrane. 1 second, Voyager was still under the sun's protection. The next, it was exposed to raw cosmic rays that hit 70% harder than before. There was no ramp up, no transition, just a snap. And then something even stranger. Voyager's magnetometers showed the sun's magnetic field was nearly perfectly aligned with the interstellar magnetic field outside. This was supposed to be chaos, a swirling tangle of competing forces. Instead, it was synchronized, aligned to the point it looked engineered. If the universe is chaotic by nature, why would there be such precision? Could randomness ever create something this exact? Now, some astrophysicists no longer describe the heliopause as a boundary. They call it a living structure, a membrane that breathes, expands, contracts, and maybe even reacts. It changes with solar activity. It pulses with galactic pressure. It behaves like it's aware. And here's where it gets even more unsettling. Voyager 1 crossed the heliopause at 119 astronomical units. Voyager 2 crossed it just 2 units further, yet experienced completely different conditions. That difference? Too precise to be a coincidence. What if the boundary itself chose to behave differently? What if it's not the same everywhere? What if space isn't space? It's being shaped by something else. If the heliopause is a membrane, then what's on the other side? That's the question no one wanted to ask. Because what Voyager 2 found wasn't just physics. It hinted at presence. The probe wasn't simply logging radiation spikes or magnetic fields anymore. It was being watched, or so it seemed. For decades, we thought the solar system's edge was just a boundary of influence. But this felt different. It felt like crossing a line. And after Voyager sent its strange, structured signal, there was silence. But behind the scenes, Space agencies began to panic. NASA postponed press briefings. Researchers were quietly reassigned, and at JPL, the team handling Voyager 2 was barred from speaking to media. And then, the most chilling sign of all, encryption. For the first time in history, Voyager 2's live telemetry stream was encrypted. That wasn't to protect data. It was to contain fear. So what was NASA hiding? And why now, after nearly 5 decades of open data? The US Department of Defense had quietly classified part of the signal. Why? Because a portion of Voyager's frequency matched an earlier unexplained signal, one that came from the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter in 2003. Back then, it was dismissed. But now, it had returned. And this time it wasn't ignored. It was contained. The implication? These signals might not be isolated anomalies. They might be part of a pattern, a larger system that's been listening all along. As Voyager 2's signal echoed through encrypted channels, a new idea began to spread. Not through press releases, not from NASA, but in the shadows, among independent scientists, AI researchers, and underground forums. They called it the mirror theory. This theory didn't claim Voyager had made contact. It didn't suggest alien speech or intelligent life. It proposed something even more unsettling. Because what if the most terrifying message wasn't a message at all? What if what Voyager 2 encountered wasn't a reply, but a reflection? According to the mirror theory, the rhythmic pulses Voyager picked up weren't sent to us. They were bounced back, not by a being, not by a machine, but by a field, a passive structure built to echo what touches it, like sonar but on a cosmic scale. Only instead of sound, it reflects logic, structure, language, pattern. It mimicked parts of the Arecibo message, the one humanity blasted into space in 1974. Not the words, but the mathematics behind it, the recursive structure, the symmetry. Something, or some system, was scanning Voyager 2, and when it did, it showed us ourselves. But here's the part that keeps scientists up at night. A mirror doesn't lie, it doesn't distort, it simply reflects what's already there. So maybe Voyager 2 didn't uncover intelligence. Maybe it didn't need to, because if a passive system reflected our signal and showed something familiar, then what it saw was something just like us. Beyond the heliosphere lies the interstellar abyss. Empty, cold, infinite, or so we thought. But as Voyager 2 continued to drift, astrophysicists noticed something that made their stomachs turn. Because what if deep space isn't empty at all, but monitored? A group of scientists working with AI-driven pattern recognition tools began mapping Voyager 2's exact path. And what they found was chilling. Voyager 2's exit point from the solar system perfectly aligned with several repeating fast radio burst sources, those mysterious ultra-high energy signals that blink from distant galaxies. For years, these FRBs had puzzled researchers. Were they black holes, neutron stars, alien tech? But now, with Voyager transmitting its own anomaly, the pieces started to fit. What if these bursts weren't random? What if they were part of a system? Not a beacon, not a message, but a tripwire. A galactic detection grid scattered across the stars, each fast radio burst, a node, each burst, a trigger. Voyager 2 didn't just slip into deep space. It may have entered a corridor, a space designed not to broadcast, but to listen, to record, to detect when a civilization grows powerful enough to escape its star. And when that happens, something looks back. That's what makes this theory more terrifying than first contact. Because it's not about communication, it's about surveillance. Voyager wasn't sending a greeting. It was stepping across a line, one that's been there, waiting. And if that's true, then we must ask, did Voyager trigger something, or did something finally open its eyes and look back? What if Voyager 2 didn't just cross a physical boundary, but a cognitive one? Because space might not just be space. It might be watching. Quantum theorists have proposed a chilling idea. They believe that somewhere out in the cosmos exists a limit, not of distance, not of time, but of awareness. A kind of intelligence threshold, a filter not made of metal or energy, but perception. Only civilizations capable of comprehending certain patterns, higher order information, only they are allowed to pass. But here's the terrifying part. Cross that line too soon, and you might trigger a fail-safe. That strange hum Voyager 2 recorded, the symmetrical pulse patterns, the eerie magnetic alignments, they may not be anomalies, they may be tests of intent, of consciousness, of who we are beneath the technology. Imagine it, a membrane in space that doesn't just detect objects, It reads them, scans their structure, deciphers their evolution, judges their nature. And Voyager 2? It wasn't just a probe, it was a key, one that just turned a lock never meant to be opened yet. We didn't knock on the universe's door, we stepped through it, and now something is on the other side. Not a voice, not a face, but a presence, vast, ancient, and aware. The most haunting possibility isn't that we're not alone, it's that we've finally been seen by something that never wanted us to arrive this early. For nearly half a century, Voyager 2 was seen as a symbol, a time capsule drifting gently into the unknown, a gesture of peace and curiosity, carrying music, messages, and mathematics to whoever or whatever might be listening. But we were wrong. Something already was. That strange transmission, it wasn't just static. That sudden shift in space, not random. That silence afterward, it wasn't peace, it was calculation. Because Voyager 2 didn't simply leave the solar system. It crossed a boundary, a line not drawn in distance, but in understanding. A cosmic checkpoint designed to filter civilizations, to evaluate them, not by their science, but by their intent. And when we crossed, we weren't met with a voice. We were met with a mirror. What it reflected back wasn't an invitation, but recognition. A subtle, rhythmic pulse, structured and deliberate, the kind that doesn't ask questions. It confirms answers. We were never alone. We were just never meant to be noticed until now. And now that we've been seen, truly seen, we're no longer explorers. We're participants in something far older, far bigger, far more aware than we ever imagined. Voyager 2 drifts now beyond the known. Not watched by a being, not chased by a ship, but observed by a presence. Quiet, calculating, possibly very, very old. And the only question left to ask, now that it knows we're here, what happens next? The universe just blinked, and we blinked back. If this story gripped you, if it made you question what's really out there, then now is your moment to go deeper. Like this video, if it made you think. Subscribe for more real mysteries from the edge of science, consciousness, and deep space. Turn on notifications so you never miss a discovery that could change everything we know. Because this isn't just space news. This is a paradigm shift, and it's only just begun.